Well, quite a lot to mull on in the papers this morning, but one of the things that immediately stands out for you is the Edo elections right there. And, a number of reassurances have been coming through as to what exactly is going to be happening with regards to security in the Edo elections. We know that the CDS, General Christopher Musa, was in Edo State yesterday where he met the governor also laying his own set of complaints. But the CDS says, we have just one mandate from the president, which is to make sure that the environment is conducive and secure for the residents of Edo State to be able to come out to vote. Well, while the candidates get ready, mopping up their campaign areas this morning, today is the last day of campaigns, by the way, according to INEC regulations for the Edo elections. We also know that, observers will be also on standby to also see what is going on and to make sure that the polls are free and fair and that the processes are followed through. Well, we'll be speaking with one of them about now. Mr. Samson Itodo of YIAGA Africa is in Edo State, is in Benin City, the Edo State capital, and he joins us live from there via Zoom. Good morning, Mr. Itodo. Good to see you on Sunrise Early this morning. I understand that you're supposed to be on your way to the CBN headquarters. What is happening? How was your visit to your arrival in Edo State? Was it yesterday you arrived?
Yes, yesterday. I arrived yesterday, but the YIAGA Africa team have been here for 2 weeks training our observers. I think that the stage is set for the election on Saturday. With respect to INEC's preparations, yesterday, the sensitive materials, and in this case, the ballot papers and the result sheets, arrived yesterday. And like you mentioned this morning, they will be deployed from the central bank to the local government, which is really in tandem with the standard practice for election materials deployment. So it's good to see that there's that level of preparations on the part of INEC. The only concern we have with respect to the logistics, it's the role that the transport unions would play. We understand from INEC that in view of the hike in fuel prices, the transport owners increased the price for transportation, which is understandable. INEC has made a commitment that they will meet those demands. But Maupe, in previous elections, we've seen situations where road transport union workers on the day of election, abandon their vehicles and not deploy to the racks to enable the polling officials transport those materials. We hope that does not happen because it will sabotage the entire preparations that have been made for the elections. I think with respect to security, I am very delighted to hear the rhetoric from the Inspector General of Police and also from the CDS about the assurances and they allayed the fears, and including the incumbent governor who, also did address the press to talk about, their satisfaction with some of the responses from the police. I think it's heartwarming. However, prior to this election, we raised the concerns about the proliferation of light and small arms. One of the updates we've not received is to what extent, have they disarmed these thugs and also cultists who are in possession of these arms. This afternoon at 1 p.m., the police DIG will be meeting with observers. We're going to be at the state headquarters to receive updates. We hope that they will make those updates available. But it's good to see this rhetoric. However, there are still concerns as to whether, they've disarmed those who are in possession of these arms. But also on the part of the voters, they still have the concerns with respect to security. But we want to assure voters, just like the IG and the security agencies have said, to come out en masse and reverse this decline, this trend of low voter turnout in previous Edo elections.
Are there any areas where you will be looking out in particular? I mean, yes, you have highlighted this two major points of concern: a hike in fuel prices affecting what could possibly happen with transport drivers tomorrow, and then the proliferation of light and small arms. But apart from this, which border around security and the conduct of the elections, are there any other areas that are of concern? For some people, they have highlighted that vote buying could be one of the areas they are looking at. Is YIAGA Africa also looking at that as well?
Absolutely. In the build-up to this election, we released three pre-election observation reports, and in each of those reports, we highlighted the voter enticement that signposted the pre-election campaigns. We've seen and observed, politicians distributing 1,000, 2,000 naira to the extent of even donating free fuel and gas to voters. We suspect that this will be extended to election day, where politicians are going to deploy resources, to buy votes on the day of election, or perhaps we might end up with what we call purchased turnout, and not that people are turning out because they want to cast their vote, but because they've been incentivized as a result of vote buying or voter inducement, as the case may be. So it's one biggest worry that we have with respect to this election. I think the second, or perhaps the third one, deals with, the potential to manipulate this election through violence. And this is where, our security agencies have a critical role to play, because we suspect that in some cases, and we've identified 8 flashpoints of violence and 8 local governments, largely in the southern part, in Edo South, which is one of the battlegrounds senatorial district due to the highest number of registered voters, including the highest number of PVCs. That thugs, might be deployed to intimidate voters, not show up on the day of election. And it's a big source of worry for us. And this is where we urge security agencies to continue to assure voters that they receive maximum protection, to cast their votes for parties and candidates of their choice. But also on the INEC's part, we've raised the issue concerning consistency in decision-making, and we've received the assurances from the Electoral Commission. So it does appear that all the stakeholders are conscious and they are aware of the concerns that stakeholders have expressed. We will keep them to their words and see how it plays out, from tomorrow when the sensitive materials get to the local government. Because once the sensitive materials leave the CBN, you need extra vigilance so that those materials don't fall in wrong hands.
Well, Samson, we certainly will be keeping tabs with you and the team and of course our correspondents on the ground to see what exactly is happening in Edo. But we have to thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we can say stay safe as you carry out your duties in Edo State.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, we're still keeping tabs on a number of stories. Yesterday, we were watching what happened. We broke the story that the former governor of Kogi State, Mr. YIAGA Bello, was said to have visited the headquarters and honored the invitation of the EFCC. Turns out that the EFCC has said, yes, he did visit our quarters, but he's still wanted by us because he was not interrogated by the EFCC. We're still going to be keeping tabs on that development because yesterday, it was reported that there was a siege on the Kogi Governor's Lodge here in Asokoro in the FCT. And in the process, journalists doing their jobs, vehicles were confiscated, cameras confiscated by security officials who didn't want us to see what was going on there. And we've been trying to keep tabs with the EFCC officials to bring us up to speed with what exactly is going on. What was the update? What was the outcome of that? Because we understand that they were trying to, effect or forcefully arrest the former governor of Kogi State, YIAGA Bello, who was said to be taking refuge in the Kogi Governor's Lodge yesterday. It's not clear, but some of the word that we hear is that the former governor, eventually, was in the car, just as we saw earlier, in the car of the current governor, and that they left the lodge yesterday. We've been trying to reach the EFCC officials to confirm this, but all attempts have not yielded fruit just yet. But we'll tell you that we'll be keeping tabs on that particular story and bringing you details as we get them. Just again, that yesterday this particular development happened. EFCC operatives taking or laying siege to the Kogi Governor's Lodge in an attempt to effect an arrest on the former governor of Kogi State, who they say is still wanted by them, even though he was said to have visited the headquarters of the EFCC. It raises a lot of questions, which hopefully we should be getting answers to But while we attempt to get those answers, we will certainly keep you updated as we get them. We'll take a break at this moment, and when we come back, we'll be sinking our teeth into the matters that we have for you today. Edo is still one of them. We're not done with the situation in Edo. We'll be speaking with some of the actors who will be canvassing for votes today. Today is the last day to canvass for votes, and subsequently, you will only be able to speak with INEC security operatives and those who will be observing the elections. But please stay tuned here on Sunrise Daily. We'll be right back.